All right, you guys, this is a book. Okay, so if you don't know, I have recently been reading a ton. I have been reading so much more. It was one of my resolutions for, I think, 2016 that I read more. And this year in particular, I have been on it. Like, if you follow me on Goodreads, which I'll have in the description below, you know that I've been reading a lot more, whether that be actual books, or comic books, or manga, or graphic novels, or whatever you want to call the book. I've been reading a lot more. This is going to be a new series where I talk about books that I've read, particularly probably just one book at a time depending on how much I have to say about it. I don't want it to be too much going on at once so you have to like skim through the video or whatever, but there will be spoilers in these series. I just want to let you know, and I'll also list the trigger warnings for this book. If you want to read it, just look that up. If you're very sensitive to certain subjects, you might want to check that out. There are a couple of things in this book that have trigger warnings. I read The Woman in Cabin 10 by Ruth Ware. Now, this book was lent to me by my sister. She made me read, like literally made me read it. She also made me read In a Dark, Dark Wood last year. I liked In a Dark, Dark Wood okay, but I kind of had the same problems with In a Dark, Dark Wood that I had with The Woman in Cabin 10. It must be the genre I've heard called domestic thriller, because it is not bad. I'm not going to sit here and tell you this book is bad. It wasn't bad. My opinion of the author so far has been, she's not a bad writer. I can fully read her work and not be confused. I don't get super distracted when I'm reading her books. It's slightly, you know, it's engaging enough, but also they're not very thrilling. Like, I feel like I expected so much from what my sister was saying about them. Like, they were really good and kind of intense and blah, 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 and spooky, or not spooky, but thrillery. I honestly was not shocked by anything in her books. None of them, like, you know, shocked me. None of them surprised me. They weren't bad, but they weren't new, I guess I could say. Not something that provoked any thought or shock value for me. I like the cover art. Like, I think this is an interesting cover. I like that it's left aligned here. That's an interesting choice, and it just said, I don't like that it says a novel on it. That's kind of weird to me, but I overall like the cover. It has some texture going on with these raindrops, and this is just the paperback. I like it. I think it looks good. Overall, good color choices. I like the cover of it. I'm going to compare both of her books because I feel like even though I've only read 2 of her books, they are so similar. In A Dark, Dark Wood, it has a very good atmosphere. It felt so much more fun to read than this one, but I didn't even give it a different rating though. It felt the same as this one to me when I read it, like emotionally and like as far as like mood, but it was still better. It was a little bit darker in mood and just an interesting story. This book takes place on a cruise ship, which is like not a big one like, you know, Royal Caribbean or Carnival, but more like a private cruise ship that's a little bit smaller, but still really nice and big. The main character, Lo, she has some issues. She takes medication for it, and she has someone break into her home, and they don't really do anything. Like, I think this is the thing that bothers me the most about this book, is this person just, it's really ominous. They break in the house, they rough her up just a little bit, they don't assault her or anything, which I guess, you know, that's the author's choice to do that. And they don't really take anything that I know of. I don't remember them taking anything from her house, so they just break in her house kind of just to freak her out, it seems. And I could be wrong. Like, it's been like 2 weeks since I read this book. That obviously shows you how much I remember about it. I don't remember it having any reason other than just to, you know, like scare her a little bit. So I don't understand the point of that person breaking in other than to give the character the spooks throughout the entire book, because that one little bitty event affects her throughout the entire book and makes her uncredible for some reason. Like, the fact that she got spooked a little bit makes her uncredible as a witness. It makes her paranoid of every single person she runs into. It doesn't come back later on. Like, it does not reemerge later in the story. There is no reason for this break-in other than to spook her a little bit as a mentally. I don't understand why they did that. Like, I don't understand why Ruth Ware chose to make that decision. Maybe she should have made it a little more intense. Like, the guy, I don't know, not raped her, but like, I don't know, beat her to a bloody pulp or something. Like, maybe he should have put her in the hospital, or maybe he should have robbed her of all of her belongings or something. Like, I feel like it should have been a little more intense than he just kind of like pushed her and then she like locked herself in a room and then he left. Like, that's really all it was. There was nothing to it other than that. And to me, it's not like, boo, get over it. Like, I would be spooked too if that happened, but it didn't mesh with how affected she was, in my opinion. Also, I feel like her mental illness or her, issues that she was going through weren't exaggerated enough. Like, it just said that she was just going through some things. It didn't say exactly what. It didn't really divulge any information as to her true mental state. It just said that she took medication for this and that. It didn't really say why. And in The Dark Dark Wood, it at least explains to you why she, because she has a lot of the same kind of characters now that I'm thinking about it. Like, the same character that doesn't really know anything about herself. Like, a character that's really confused, a character that's really depressed and taking medication and going through some things mentally and doesn't always make the good decisions. Like, that's just her character choice, I think. And I'm probably still going to read her other books just because my sister loves this author and she ends up letting me borrow the books. This is her copy. I have my own copy of In a Dark Dark Wood because it was like $1. I think I'm figuring out her writing style and her character choice. It's always a woman that's just kind of weird, messed up, but not like, this is exactly what's wrong with me. It's always a character that's like got something going on, but it's never something that's like, oh, okay, that's obviously why she's acting this way. It's always kind of like, okay. I mean, there's medication that helps you with this. You shouldn't still be experiencing those things. I don't know. Like, it's just so confusing to me. Like, I don't know anything about this mental illness because you're not explaining it to me. You're not telling me why this person feels this way. You're not telling me anything. I don't know. It's just really lame to have such a big focal point as to your character's weaknesses or flaws or whatever you want to make it. You need to like divulge as to why they're this way, or like things that it makes them do, or the way it makes them feel. Like, you need to really exaggerate that part of their life, because if that's their character and it revolves around anxiety and fear and paranoia and questioning what you might have seen and what you might not have seen, I don't know. Like, this character in this book, she has these issues and then she goes and gets drunk every single night. Like, she's just like fully drunk almost the entire trip. And I'm just like, no, I wouldn't believe you. Not only are you on medication because you have something, I have no idea what you have. Like, you have not explained to me what she has. So what if it's like schizophrenia and maybe her medication is reacting with the alcohol? Like, I don't know anything about drugs. Like, you got to lightly tell me some things just so I understand why your character's doing this. And so she's drunk all the time, and then she thinks she sees someone get murdered or hears someone get murdered, has no proof of it, and expects the entire cruise ship to believe her. Like, of course no one's gonna believe you because you're drunk off your butt. I don't know. And I think the excuse of, well, I believed the character because, I don't know, I just believed her. To me, there's no reason for the crew to believe her, like anyone on the ship to believe her that it actually happened. There's no reason for her to really be upset at the crew for not believing her, other than, I'm upset that you don't believe me. But she was still really upset, even though she knew that there was no proof and she understood that, of course, they don't believe me because of blah, blah, blah. But then she was still mad about it. Like, she was still really pissed because they didn't believe her and she just expected them to believe her even though she knew they shouldn't believe her, if that makes sense. It's just a really confusing thought process to me. Like, I don't understand why this character would be so irrational most of the book and do things that they shouldn't do, obviously. I don't know. And there was so much convoluted action in this book that was like, it's just so inconclusive and didn't thrill me at all. And it wasn't the worst book I've read, but it definitely wasn't what I wanted. And I don't regret reading it. I'm probably still going to read her books, like I said, but it's not going to be in the top of my priorities. I give this one a 3, just like I gave In a Dark Dark Wood. They're not bad books, but they're not great books. Like, they're worth a read if you're interested in a domestic-y thriller with every single one of her characters has like a mental illness. So if you're interested in reading about a main character who has a mental illness and it's not really that much explained, you can read some Ruth Ware. I'm beginning to wonder if these domestic-y thrillers, if that's what this is, are just not for me. It's not enough. Like, it's not descriptive enough, first of all. I'm used to Stephen King descriptions, and it's not very thrilling. Like, in A Dark Dark Wood, I expected so much more out of that story. I was hoping for like a good twist, and it was so predictable to me. Like, I could, yeah, it was obviously this woman that did it, blah, blah, blah. No big deal. But in this one, it was like, why did this person do this? I don't care. Why did the killer do it? Why is she... It just doesn't matter. Like, I don't care, you know? And in the nicest way, I just don't care about who did it and why he did it. Like, it just doesn't matter. I gave it 3 stars because it was kind of meh, and I'm not gonna remember a ton about this in like 3 weeks, so take that as you will. Do I recommend this book? Yeah, I recommend it alright. If you like her other books, you'll probably really like this one. It seems like she has a style that she goes for, and if you're into the domestic thriller, female characters, then you'll probably like it. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I hope to put up more book-related videos and other things that I'm very interested in here on this channel, along with vlogs. And yeah, I hope to see you in the next one. Bye guys!